Mm. All right, guys, are we ready?
Yes.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is CJ Johnson. I'm with the SBDC, and today we are going to have a fantastic treat with Jerry, who knows everything about marketing and how to do it really smartly. Before she begins, I'm going to give you a little overview about the SBDC and what we have to offer. So, with that, let me go ahead. There we go. So some of our services that we offer are at no cost. They are one-on-one counseling. We have lots of talented counselors here that specialize in different fields, some with technical assistance, some with financial. Myself, I like to do the numbers, and we have a couple other former bankers on staff as well. So we have a variety of people that have owned their own businesses that are counselors now. And so we bring that to the table. And when you get assigned a counselor, you can also end up with multiple counselors if you want in a co-counseling session. So that's always good to know that you have a team of people available as well. So these are some of the resources also that we offer. Live Plan is a business planning tool. It's extremely useful. It has the ability to do forecasting within it, and then the end result is this beautiful business plan that you can utilize to give to a lender or keep it going as you're growing and you're trying to track your goals for your business. We also have IBIS World and Vertical IQ. Those are industry reports that we can provide you with specific industry information that helps you fulfill the information that you need inside of that business plan as well. And then we have different trainings and workshops here. The QR code that you see there is for our calendar so that you can see what's going on. Sign up. We have them in webinar form like this or hybrid. Actually, today we're hybrid since it's SBDC day. And so if you're not here on site, you're just out there viewing, you can look at the different calendar events and it'll tell you specifically on there whether or not it is hybrid, meaning in person and online, or just online, or just in person. So, and if you're interested in getting a counselor and getting started with us, this QR code will take you right over to the request for counseling. Just fill out your information, and then our awesome Marianne will get you assigned with one of our counselors really quick. So, and with that, I'm going to turn this over to Miss Jerry. Take it away, Miss Jerry. Stop sharing, and you can take it over. And you're muted.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to sharing information with all of you about crafting a yearly content strategy. Just a little bit of background on myself. I've been doing marketing for more than 30 years. And I was with the SBDC not too long ago. So I'm very familiar with what everyone does at the SBDC. See some friendly faces too, which is nice. So let's just get into the crafting your yearly content strategy. There'll be more about me at the end of the slide deck, so we can get into that. But I've got a lot I want to cover today. First of all, understanding a content strategy, what it is and why it's important. We're going to talk about that. And analyzing your current content. So whatever you're doing now, that's an important thing to understand, so you have a comparison, what you're doing today and what you're planning to do in the near future. And then setting some SMART goals, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about creating audience personas because you want to make sure that the content you're creating is targeted to the right people that have the highest likelihood of purchasing your product or service. And then understanding where they are in their customer journey. We're going to talk about that as well, and I'll show you a customer journey map. And then we'll dive into the content planning and calendar workbook. So I'm going to walk you through that. Everyone gets a copy of the workbook along with a copy of these slides, so that you can work on this content strategy after the webinar, and start putting some things in place. We'll also explore content types and distribution channels, and then measuring and adjusting your strategy. So let's dive in right now. I don't know how many people we
Nancy?
have, but did you want me to stop, Marianne? Did you need to ask a
Yeah,
question?
we're not hearing you very well. We didn't know if you could turn up or speak louder.
Huh.
On our speaker end. too.
How's that? Because I've turned my
Ah.
speakers up all the way. Is that better?
Yeah, it's just 1 moment.
Okay. Try
Is that
do a
better?
test real quick.
Okay, is this better?
Yes. But you just got to change your speaker.
It's fine on mine.
So I've turned my volume up all the way. Let me see.
Okay.
Okay, Raul's saying he can hear fine.
Okay.
So that's good to know. Okay, good. Thank you, Raul. And now it's louder. I hope it's not too loud. So, okay. So first of all, let's talk about what is content and why does it matter? I think we've got a small enough group that people could put some comments into the chat, whoever's on the webinar, or if you've got people in the room that want to share, what is content strategy? How would you define content?
Should be okay now.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll just go on because I'm not sure how many people there are on in order to make this interactive. So let me just continue here. Your content strategy is all about setting specific goals, include newsletters and blogs, and sending them out to draw people to my website and transition them to clients. Perfect. Okay. Yes, absolutely. That's great. Thank you. And that is part of the content strategy. Absolutely. A roadmap for creating, managing, and distributing content, specific goals by focusing on audience needs and aligning with broader business objectives. Oh, perfect, Raul. Yes, you should be giving this webinar. But yes, it is knowing who your audience is, designing targeted content for each audience type, and then using multiple channels to maximize your reach instead of just focusing on one or two. That really makes a huge difference. So it's really about putting your head, your mind, wrapping it around what it is your customer needs and wants. It's not about you or your business. It's really about them. And it's about, what is it they're looking for and how can you solve that challenge for them? And if they're, so we talk about pain points, right? Doesn't mean they're necessarily in pain unless you're in the medical profession. And that's what you are doing, is trying to, solve pain. But it's really, what are they looking for? People do Google searches all the time, every single day. And that's because they're looking for information, right? And it's information that you might have, whether it's a product type or it's services or it's a restaurant they want to go to. You need to understand what they're looking for. And so that gets to what are their needs, what are their wants, what's their satisfaction level. Sometimes they're just really looking for a better service experience, right, than one that they've had before. So understanding that is key to developing your content strategy. And we talked about in the agenda, I said we're going to, look at analyzing your current content strategy. So what I've done is put together a simple SWOT worksheet for you. It's in the workbook as well, and it's in this handout. But this gives you an opportunity to look at what are you doing right now in terms of a newsletter, a blog, social posts on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, whatever it is you're doing, and how is it working? So you want to list each one of those pieces of content that you're producing over here in the topic area. And then look at strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. Now, your strengths and weaknesses, those are internal. How well are you producing this, right? Is it a strength? Do you write well? Do you produce content well? Are you creative? Or do you have creative people on your team? Or do you outsource that? That's fine. You can still call it internal, even if you're hiring someone to do it. But if if writing is a challenge for you, so putting out a blog, ideally you'd be putting out a blog article once a week. But if that's too challenging because you don't feel confident in your writing skills and you haven't hired anybody or you don't have the budget for that, then it becomes a weakness, right? But it's also potentially an opportunity. And it could be a threat if your competitors are producing blog articles all the time and on the same kinds of subjects that your customers are looking for, then there's an opportunity and it's a threat for you. So take each piece of content that you're currently producing and analyze whether it's a strength in your area, it's a weakness, or it's an opportunity and a threat, or opportunity or threat. And that is really based on what your competitors are doing and whether or not it's something that your clients, your customers are looking for that you aren't doing right now. There's an opportunity for you to get on board and figure out how to produce that. So I recommend using this worksheet to help you get through that process. Now, setting SMART goals. This means that they need to be specific, and that means really setting up specific numbers. We're talking about, I want, sales increase of X, number of new customers, number of referrals, number of people visiting my website on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Those are specific numbers that you want to be setting as your particular goals for whatever the content you're going to be producing for this year, right? Measurable. That means you need a from and a to number. So if you've already analyzed your current strategy and you've done some of these analytics and you know how many visitors you have to your website now, then you can put in a number that says, and by a certain date, I want to achieve Y, right? We have X, we want to get to Y, or we want to reduce our bounce rate on the website. People land on our website on the homepage and they bounce off. We want them navigating to different pages on the website. We want them to stay longer on the website. That would be especially true if you have an e-commerce site and you're trying to sell products online. So having a from and a to number is going to be important. Achievable. You want to make sure that it's within the capabilities of your team. So make it a stretch goal. What are you doing now? And then set a goal that's achievable. If you're getting, 1,000 visitors to your website, then, shooting for 5,000 by the end of the year might not be achievable, depending on how long you've had your website up and running. It might be, depending on how much money and, you're putting in to promotion. Maybe, the more money you throw at it, and if it's really good targeted content, you could potentially achieve 5,000 website visitors a day. But chances are, if you're already getting 1,000, then maybe trying to reach 1,200 to 1,500 by a certain time frame, maybe by the end of the year, would be more reasonable. Anyway, you have an idea, based on your own analytics, what that particular achievable goal would be. And then make sure it's relevant. What is it your customers are looking for? What keywords are they using to search in Google for particular products, particular types of data, what kind of services they're looking for, right? Make sure that you understand what those are and what that search volume is. And are you using those same keywords on your own website? So that you have a pretty good idea of what the customers are looking for. You want to make sure that whatever you're offering is is relevant to whatever those particular ideal customers are looking for. So that is going to be a critical component to your content as well. And then time bound. We talked about setting a specific time frame for your goals. And because we're like in the 3rd month of this year, maybe you want to look at 6 months down the road, right? Or maybe you want to look at the rest of the year. You're setting your content strategy for 2025. What is it you want to achieve by December 31, 2025? Or if you've got a specific holiday in mind, what is it you want to achieve by that time frame? Are you special? Do you have summer specials? Do you have something special promotion that you're doing for Father's Day, for Mother's Day? Those might be opportunities for you to set specific goals for just those, and then set more goals for Christmas time or other holidays like Thanksgiving and Halloween. Anyway, those are just some ideas. But setting specific SMART goals is going to gives you something measurable to work towards, gives you targets to look at and to reach for as you develop your content strategy. Next, you want to create a buyer persona for each individual customer. I would recommend you do it, you probably have 2 or 3 ideal customers. If you're selling multiple products or services, the same customer isn't likely going to buy all of those products. They're going to focus on 1 or 2 products. You've got one customer that's the ideal target for those particular products. You've got another customer that's another ideal target for a different type of product. So same thing with the services that you offer. They aren't all the same person. So identifying the needs and the buyer persona and filling out one of these templates for each of those customer types is going to really help you in terms of trying to craft the content strategy around them, because now you have a picture, you have an idea of who that person is. In this case, Cia Rodriguez, right? And she's, what age she is, and you've got an idea of what her occupation might be and what her personality might be like. And if you don't have any idea because you're just getting started, or you haven't ever surveyed your customers, or you operate totally online and no one's walking in, you don't have a physical store where people are coming in and you're not meeting them in person, then take a step back and think about, who did you design this business for? Because when you started your business, you must have had an idea of who the customer was going to be. I hope you had an idea of who the customer was going to be for this particular product, and then build your persona around that, because that's at least a starting point. I also recommend, just to get your feet wet, if you've never done one of these, that it's a good idea to do one on yourself, because you are a buyer. Even though you're a business owner, you're also a buyer. You're a shopper. So think of your favorite store or the favorite product that you purchase, and put yourself in as a buyer. Fill out one of these buyer personas with that particular product in mind. Again, that's going to get you at least experienced in filling one of these out. And if you've got team members, ask each one of them to do. But this would be a fun exercise to do as a group, right? If you've got a team and you can get together to each one of you fill one of these out, or fill one out together for each one of your customers. This Canva is a great resource. If you aren't using Canva, I would highly recommend it, because it's really great for designing social posts and designing all kinds of content. The pro version isn't that expensive. I think it's, I can't remember if it's around $200 a year, $250, something like that. But you get a lot of value out of the free version as well. And it has AI integrated into it. So that's one option. And this template actually came from Canva. I'm going to give you 2 others here. HubSpot has great online template for creating a buyer persona. You can either download the template, or you can just fill it out online. So that's another option. And Extensio is a wonderful resource for a wide variety of marketing templates. So I highly recommend exploring any or all of those if you have not done that. Once you've done that, then what you're really looking at doing here is identifying as much of the demographics of your buyer persona, right? We're talking age, income, gender, ethnicity, where they live and work. So, why would it be important to know where they live and work? Just anybody in the chat. Why do you think that would be important to know, have an idea of where your ideal customer lives and works? We've got anybody typing how to best connect with them. Yes, absolutely. That's going to give you an idea, because if they're living on, if they're on farms, right? If your best customers are the ones that are ranchers or living on farms. I'm in a rural community, so those are, that's a wide number. Internet isn't necessarily going to be a great way to reach them, but direct mail might be. And to see their socioeconomic level, absolutely. If you have an idea of where they're living, in what types of communities, if they're in condos or if they're in mobile homes, you have a pretty good idea of their economic situation or concept anyway. So it gives you that kind of information without actually asking for that directly. And then you can begin to surmise maybe some of their lifestyle interests. If they come into your store, if you have a store and they're walking in, then you have an opportunity to actually have a conversation with them and chit chat and ask, do they go bike riding? Are they involved in any clubs? And, there's, while people are shopping your store, and even at checkout, there's an opportunity to have a short conversation, give them a survey card. How did they learn about you? I mean, that's valuable information that you'd be gathering and putting into a data bank, I would hope, so that you can begin building the profile. And this just gives you fodder for creating the content strategy, because now if you know who you're talking to, what their age and income level is, whether they're single or they have families, did they bring their kids in? Are they buying for kids? Are they buying for families, or only buying for an individual? What their ethnicity is gives you an idea maybe of their culture. If they're Hispanic, what's the culture related to that, and where they live and work. All of that gives you information that you can research in Google and start crafting some content that's gonna trigger their interest, right? And that's what you're looking for. The next step is to identify your competition. So if you aren't doing this, I recommend you sign up for your competitors' newsletters. You should know what they're talking about. You might even want to purchase one of their products or services, so you have an idea of how well you think they're performing, and how does it measure up against what you're offering. If they have a restaurant and you're in the restaurant business, go visit the restaurant, go taste their food, go see what their customer service is like. You might find that you're better, or they're equal, or maybe you're worse off than they are. It's good information for you to know. What's their pricing? How does everything compare in terms of their products and services? I would do another SWOT comparison here, so that you have a pretty good idea of who your number 1 and 2 competitors are and how they measure up against you. And you can do a competitive analysis. Again, Extensio has worksheets, templates. These are free. Just sign up, give them your account, your name and email address, and you can access their templates at no charge and do a competitive analysis. I think the SBDC also has some templates for competitive analysis, possibly. But so if you're a member of the SBDC, you might want to check with your counselor about that. All right. So we've talked about creating, the buyer persona and but you could do it for every product and service, do it for each customer, gives you a really good in-depth idea of who that ideal customer is going to be. The next step is to really figure out where are they on their customer journey, and designing your content and the actions you think each customer is going to take based on where they are in this whole customer journey, because they go from awareness over to purchasing decision to the service evaluation and loyalty. That's the journey we all go through. So in the awareness phase, what is it you're doing to attract people to your website? What are you doing to create this awareness? Are you running Google ads or Facebook ads? Are you sending out newsletters? Do you have a form on your website to capture email addresses? And then what happens when a customer, maybe not a customer yet, a visitor is considering your doing business with you, whether it's coming into your restaurant or your store or purchasing on your website? What's the action that they take there? They're probably doing Google searches. They're using keywords. I don't know they're using keywords, but they're typing into the Google search bar. And maybe your website's popping up. Hopefully your website is popping up. Your restaurant location, your store, that sort of thing. So that's all part of the consideration. They're looking at reviews. Are you getting any reviews? You have Google reviews, Facebook reviews. Those are critical. I always, I look at the reviews before I make a decision to buy. And I'm looking for people for when I'm reviewing a product, I'm looking for a product that has over 1,000 at least reviews. And then I'm looking at all those reviews. Now I'm looking for anything above a 3.5 to 4-star review. And if it's mostly 4.5 and above, then I'll start looking and reading some of those reviews and make a decision there. If that's a product I'm willing to take a chance on, especially if I don't know anything about it. So those reviews are really critical. Then they make a decision. What's the action the client takes? They click on a link on your website. Do they actually purchase a product? Do they make a decision to come into your store? Do they download a coupon and bring it into the store? Do they clip a coupon out of the money in the mail coupon book? What's the action that they take when they make the decision they're going to come to your store or they're going to buy from your website, right? What's that decision? Once they've made that purchase, then what was the service like? How easy was it for them to navigate your website? What kind of reaction did they get? Was it difficult? Was it easy? Did you have a survey pop up afterwards asking them what was their experience? That's really a nice feature. And if you make it really easy for them, just click on the 5 stars and put a little comment in there, you have a higher likelihood of getting someone to fill that out than if you say, we just need you just answer these 5 questions. Most people, depending on whether or not they had a really good experience, are not going to be interested in taking the time to write, answer 5 questions. But they might write a little something and give you, click on 4 or 5 stars, depending on how the experience was. And then loyalty. Are they referring other people? Are they telling their friends? Are there people coming in and saying, hey, my neighbor suggested I come by from you? How did they hear about you? Are they repeat customers? Is this their second and third time back on your website? That's what you're looking for. And you can just draw the map like here, you see, and this gives you ideas of content you need to create for each phase of that customer journey. So that's what are your touch points? This is on this bar here. Go across. I recommend you go down each column and across, right? So what are all the customer actions at each stage of the journey? What are the touch points? Meaning, what is it you're doing? What are you creating? Is it a blog post? Is it a social post? Is it a button on the website to download a landing page that you've created for an event, or download some specific guides? You could capture an email address and get them into an email campaign. What are you doing every step of this way? What's the customer experience from awareness all the way to the loyalty phase? It's not going to be a straight line. It's going to be up and down. What are their pain points? What are they searching for over here? And then on this last row, what are you offering as a solution? So all of that in this customer journey map is going to be really helpful for you to begin to map out what kinds of content you need to be producing for each stage of this customer journey. I know it's a lot of work. It is. Hopefully you don't have to do it all yourself. You can hire somebody to do some of this for you. You can gather a team together, and maybe each person takes one phase of the customer journey, and you assign the different areas to each person on your team. That would be another way to approach that. All right, I think it's time for us to delve into the planning calendar, that workbook that I created and that you should all be getting. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to go over to do a new share. And we'll just go through the content calendar here. How much time do I have left? Because it's we're doing good. I got about 20, 30 minutes. If anyone's got questions along the way, I'm happy to answer them. So no problem with that. If Marianne, you would just, or CJ, you just let me know if someone's raised a hand and has a question. So let's go through this workbook, because what I've done is design it in a way that I thought would be the most useful for you in creating your content strategy for the year. So first of all, there's a whole list of a calendar of special holidays. And I thought that's going to be important because you need to have an idea to plan ahead for what's coming down the road. And you can look at January and February for next year, since those are already passed. But what are the goals for each one of those holidays? Who's the audience that you're trying to reach? And what are the specific activities that you want to design content around for each one of these specific holidays? So we've got April Fool's Day coming up. Maybe there's something you could do around April Fool's Day, right? We've got Cinco de Mayo and Mother's Day in May. In June, you've got Father's Day and maybe Flag Day, depending on your the kinds of customers you have. Maybe that's important for them. Summer solstice, I don't know. I mean, you could design something around summer solstice, right? There might be some interesting activities, interesting events, interesting content you could design around that, and probably be the only one talking about it versus everybody doing something for Father's Day and everybody doing something for Mother's Day. You might find that would be a unique opportunity. The other thing is there are calendars. I didn't put it in this workbook. I thought about it, and that's an extra 11 pages in this workbook if I added all of the monthly calendars. But I highly recommend, I can send you this one that I have. I got it off of Canva, and I just added some little branding and color to it. Canva has a variety of content calendars like this that you can use. I'm happy to email this to you if you want to just send me an email and ask me for the content calendar. I'll do that. Or you can go into Canva and find your own, design it. HubSpot has a great editorial calendar that is also online. It's in Excel, but it comes with a guide. You can download the guide. It tells you how to use the content calendar, and that would be for writing newsletters and email campaigns and blogs. Maybe, and I think it also includes social. So Facebook and Excel and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, if those are different social platforms you're using, where your customers are. They also have a social media calendar that you can, if that's the only area you focus on. I recommend you don't just focus on social media, because if all you're doing is social media, you're missing out on some huge potential with email marketing, as well as social, as well as landing pages. But the email marketing is a huge, huge component of attracting traffic and showing up in people's inbox until they're ready to buy. It sometimes takes a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road before someone is actually ready to say, I'm going to purchase from you. And if you aren't showing up in their inbox, then they're going to go to your competitor. So it's really important to stay in front of that potential prospect. The user persona, this is another template. Canva has a lot of them that are really designed for individuals. A lot of them looked like they were HR templates. And I thought, well, this is what a great concept. As you hire team members, and Nancy, this is an idea for you and the SBDC team, is to have everybody fill one of these out that gives an idea of who they are and what their personalities are like and what motivates them, right? What are their goals? What are their frustrations? And then you share that as a team and you have a better idea of who is all working together at the SBDC, for example. This could be used in an environment like that, or in a department, at another organization, or, you know, as a small business owner, if you've got a team of 5 or 10 or 15 people, gather them together, have them each fill one of those out. Might be used as you're hiring people, fill out a buyer persona so that you have something to use as a reference against not just the written job description, but you've got, this is the kind of person we're looking for. And you can look at the resume, maybe do a comparison. Anyway, it's an idea. That struck me when I was looking at those different templates in Canva. The customer journey map is in here as well, so you can begin to fill that out and map it out here in the workbook. And then I've given you a variety of content creation tools and templates. So this one is an event planning template. I used to do event planning in my career. So this would be a simple template to use, really simple, if you are planning an event. That's another way to attract people, you know, generate some new business, host some kind of an in-person event, with or without food. If you're, you know, if it's like a, you know, golf tournament or something like that, then it becomes a bigger production. But this gives you all the things you need to be thinking about: ticket prices, ticket values, ticket levels, if you're going to have sponsors or not, who the primary contact is, their contact information, when does it start, when does it end, what kind of decor do you need, the tear down time, all of that. Budget and all the items that you need to think about in terms of catering and centerpieces and auction items, if you're going to have something like that, and general event checklist, right? So, and this is an Excel template, but this isn't a PDF. I'm happy to send somebody, if you want this, I'm happy to send the Excel. I think I created as an Excel template, maybe not, it might be in Word, but these are numbers that you can fill in there. And
Jerry,
yes, Marianne?
you have a
Yes.
question from Tom. And
Okay.
Tom would like to know how much of this changes if your customers are business to business.
Oh, okay. If it's business to business, then think about who the business person is at the business, right? And because I'm basically, my business is business to business. The people that buy your services, depending on the kind of business that you're in, they could be the purchasing department. So it might be the purchasing manager. And so in that situation, then you want to make sure that you become an approved vendor. I mean, that would be one thing, approved vendor, and that you're speaking to the purchasing man. If it's not be helpful to know what kind of business. If you're catering to CEOs, then that's who you're speaking to, is the CEO. And then you've got the gatekeeper, who is the CEO's assistant, who may be the person that, you know, actually checks all their email and all of their mail and decides whether or not to pass it on to the CEO. So you've got to make friends with that gatekeeper. But targeting the CEO and speaking to that individual, and then now you're looking at LinkedIn. But again, even in a business to business situation, it's not the business, it's the people in the business who make the decision to purchase your product or service. So again, it is a person, and then you fill out the buyer persona based on whether it's the CEO or the finance manager or the marketing director or the purchasing officer. You know, who is that individual that makes that buying decision? Does that help?
Yeah. And then Hannah has a item to also, she would like a copy of the PDF, Hannah Corkin, and I can get with you later.
Okay, well, everyone's getting a copy of this PDF, because this is the workbook that we're going through. So everyone on the webinar should be getting, Marianne's going to be distributing that to you if she hasn't already. and
I,
the slide deck. Is that what we're
I think
talking
she's
about?
talking about the PDF where you thought you had an Excel. Yeah, right
Oh,
there.
this one, the event
Yes,
planning template? Okay, all right.
yes, yes.
So Marianne, if you would just jot down her name and email
Mhm.
address, so after the webinar, you can just let me know who else wants this event planning template. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm happy to send that. It is a Word template.
okay, great. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. And then there are these holiday craft ideas. This just to stimulate your thinking. Really go through this and look at what might you do for Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, farmers markets. What are the, if any of you are at farmers markets, 4th of July, Halloween, December holidays. What are all the December holidays? It's not just Christmas, but you've got Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, a lot of wide variety. I was trying to cover, all the cultural areas, and just some ideas of things that you might want to consider in terms of events or in terms of contests, anything that's going to stimulate your customers to get engaged with you. That's the whole idea here. And I know it's more challenging for a business to business enterprise, but I think if you just think about getting a little bit more creative, can you be, even if you're talking to a CEO, I mean, they still, CEOs have families, they go out, they celebrate St. Patrick's Day, they go to 4th of July events, they attend farmers markets. You never know who's walking around the farmers market looking at products there, whether it's homemade bread or it's specialty creams or produce. So you just have to think of them as people and not as businesses. And when you start thinking of them as individuals and people with families, I think that widens your perspective in terms of their people, their buyers, their shoppers. What holidays might they celebrate? And how can you turn any of your content into interesting holiday kinds of engagement that the CEO is going to say, oh, what a cool idea. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. So anyway, I think there are ways to think about this from the perspective even of a business to business versus just business to consumer. Okay, in terms of ideas, this is another because I didn't know who was going to be on here, but I thought, if you're a restaurant or a baker or a coffee shop, one of the things, or a chef, one of the things that might be interesting to your clientele is a recipe for a specialty item that you offer at your restaurant. Maybe people just love your muffins. Well, why not offer a recipe in exchange for signing up for your list or giving them, this is a planner for some kind of an event. When I was looking at this, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a competition, right? You're inviting people to submit their favorite dish for some kind of a competition. It's just ideas, right? But if you're in this kind of business, maybe this is the kind of thing that would work. And so I just threw something in there as a recipe planner for something like that. And then here's some online content creation tools, right? These are all free as well as premium, but Adobe Express, Pixlr, Hootsuite, and Buffer AI Assistant, those are all potential for social media posts. Canva also, right, for designing your social posts. Photor was another one I found for Design Maker and customizable templates. For blogs, HubSpot has great AI content writer, and you can use that just for the blogs. HubSpot is like one of my go-to resources for research on content strategy. Their blogs are really great. Google Trends, that's really excellent because that gives you an idea of what people are searching on right now. So you get an idea of the trends that people are talking about and looking for. And then you can design content around that and write blog articles around that. The Google Keyword Planner, excellent tool for making sure you're using the right keywords in your blogs, in your social posts, in your newsletters, in your emails. Grammarly, install this free plugin. It goes, you can install it as an extension on Chrome or Firefox or Safari. Highly, highly recommend it. Once you've downloaded that, set up the account on your desktop or your tablet, then Grammarly will pop up at everything that you're writing, whether it's in Excel or Word or whatever you're writing, and it'll give you suggestions for how to improve the content, and certainly to check your spelling. That's really critical. If you're posting anything, you're writing content, and you're producing it and sharing it online or in emails, it's really important that your spelling and punctuation is good. It can be written, as we talk to one another. It doesn't have to be professorial. It can be just, regular content, but it should be spelled correctly and use good punctuation. And Grammarly can help with that. And then these are some website platforms. Squarespace, WordPress, Wix, and Google Blogger all offer blogging as an option. And then for email, here's a great link for the Influencer Marketing Hub to review 31 different platforms. Then this is, I think, might have been on, no, it's from Influencer Marketing. But there are 31 different platforms for email. I just pulled out a few of the top. I think they're among the top 10. So Constant Contact, and I'm a certified professional partner with Constant Contact. And so that's kind of become my go-to, but I'm also familiar with MailerLite and MailChimp. I've used quite a few of these over the years. Brevo used to be Sendinblue. Now it's called Brevo, and it's a really popular site. And then if you're in a specialty area, I've had clients that are in, real specialty industries like candle making or something. They use an email marketing system that is really particular to their industry. And flower making, that may be the same, because it may be wrapped in with your with whatever your POS system is. Sometimes it is, just like Square has email marketing built in. And then there's some analytical tools that I highly recommend you use. Google Analytics, you should, install that and make sure that you've got Google reviewing your website. It gives you wonderful information in terms of traffic to the website, where are they coming from? Are they viewing it on a tablet, on a Mac, on a PC, on a phone? What part of the world they're coming from? How did they find you? Was it organic search? Was it a Google search? Did they type your name into the website, into the URL address because they knew what it was? All of that information. Buffer gives you good analytics, and I really like Buffer. I use the free version. I haven't tried the premium, but I really like it for scheduling social posts. HubSpot has a social scheduler as well. Buffer lets you, for free, you can connect 3 platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, and one other. Or if you've got 2 Facebook pages, that's 2 platforms, and then you only get 1 more, right? So I've got LinkedIn, Facebook, and 2 different Facebook pages, I think, or maybe 2 Instagram, 2 LinkedIn pages. But anyway, Buffer lets you schedule out 10 posts 10 days in advance, not 10 days, but 10 posts for free. You can schedule even more if you do the premium version. BuzzSumo is another one for really helping to identify trending content on social that you can, and I say trending, if it's not, it may be trending by the general public, but if it isn't relevant to your customers, then ignore it, right? Just because it's trending, if it isn't trending for your for your target audience, then it doesn't matter. It's not relevant to your audience because they don't care about that. But if it is relevant to your target audience, then it's good to check and see what Google Trends says and what BuzzSumo is saying. So that's the caveat on that. And then these are sites for royalty-free images. Do not download any photos or images or illustrations that you find just doing a search on Google. Chances are it's not free. Even if it says it's free, it isn't. because it's free to try. It's not free to use, and certainly not free to use commercially. So Pixabay is free, Pexels is free, Unsplash is free. There are others. Couldn't remember the others. There's Wikimedia that you can go to, and you can download free images. These are the ones I find easiest to use, and I usually find some good resources there. And these are free usually to use. They're in the public domain. People upload them to get visibility. You can donate to the different artists that submit these. There's always that option, but you aren't required to. You also do not have to give them credit. That's an option as well. That's why I like these. You know, sometimes you just don't want to have, you know, courtesy of or provided by this individual on a photo that you're using on a flyer, for example, or in an email. There are times when it would be relevant to do that, but it's not always relevant or appropriate for you to be doing that. So, and then you could purchase, right? You could always go to Shutterstock and purchase, but I'm giving you royalty-free image and photo sites. And then I said Buffer is a good scheduler. It also, you know, you can create content. The CoSchedule is another excellent scheduler. Hootsuite is a great one. It's gotten a little bit more complicated, but I mean, they've got some really cool features, especially for the paid version. They don't have any free one anymore. Later Social and Meta Business Suite. So those are some ideas. And then I threw in some AI tools because, you know, AI is the big, we got to figure out how to use AI to help us work smarter and not harder. And Adobe Firefly for design, Midjourney, that's part of the, I think it's Dell, but Midjourney is for creating images. I tried it a little bit, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I'm not into creating art, but if you are an artist, you probably already are using Midjourney. Canva also, they're still working on their AI-powered image generator. They haven't got it down really well in terms of generating AI-created images, especially of the human body. But, you know, these are some for content writing. ChatGPT, Grammarly has AI built in. Scribe is another one. I also use, I found Microsoft Copilot is a phenomenal tool, not just for research, but for content. You know, if you write something and then have it, ask it to rewrite it for you with a certain voice, does a huge, wonderful job of that. ChatGPT does as well, but the ChatGPT is the free version, I think, is based on 3.0, and we're up to like 4.5 now. So it's not current research data. It's like 2 years old, whereas Google's Gemini, I think it's still called Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot are current. They're using ChatGPT 4.5. Anyway, it's worth trying those tools for content writing, helping you draft something. Come up with blog topic out and headlines. Have them write a headline and then ask ChatGPT or Copilot to now create the whole 500-word blog article for you, and go in and edit it and make it sound like you. That's okay. For planning, here's a few also. A Trello, Asana, ClickUp Brain. I've used Asana. I've tried out Trello. I haven't tried some of the others, but those are some planning tools. And so that's the workbook that you're going to get. And Mary Ann's going to be sending that out to you. Let me just stop sharing this. I have 1 or 2 more slides to go back to. And I think we're just about out of time, but this has, let me see if I can get back to the Zoom. I have to get back to the Zoom window. There we go. Let me get my slide deck up first. Too many windows here. All right. I want to be on screen 2. And it's not sharing the right thing. You're just seeing a blank screen, aren't you?
No, we saw that slide that you had. put
Oh,
up.
you did. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me go back then because it wasn't, to me, it wasn't looking like I was sharing the right screen, but here we go. Okay. All right. So we've talked about, you are seeing this slide, right?
Yes, measuring and adjusting.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Because now my slide is a little bit different now. So, okay, so what you want to do is once you've defined your business goals and markets and you've refined your existing marketing strategies, you want to compare results versus the goals. We talked about setting those SMART goals. Now, let's say you're 3 months into it and you've implemented some of those strategies. So how's it going? And can I move forward? Yes. Okay. So you want to track your email open rates and your click-through rates. What are people clicking on? If you're using email, if you're using social, what are they sharing? Are they commenting? Hopefully you're generating a lot of comments and they're sharing with their friends. And if you've got customers walking into your store, then ask how they found you. Even if they're purchasing on an e-commerce website, then you want to know, how did you find my website? How did you find me? What was your, were you satisfied with with the purchase? How was the service if you were in a restaurant or something? And how easy was it to navigate the website? I mean, those might be some of the questions on your survey. If you're in a business to business environment, you can create a survey anyway. You can do something informal or a simple little survey card for the CFO or the CEO or the purchasing manager to fill out after you've delivered the service. How did we do? What should we continue doing? What should we not continue doing? What recommendations would you have? 3 simple questions. That always works really well in a business to business kind of environment to get feedback. And then you also, whatever you create in terms of content, make minor tweaks to it. If you do a video, then figure out how can you take that video and pull out little snippets to use on social media for teasers. Can you transcribe that video, have AI transcribe the video and turn it into a guide, something that you can offer people to download? Can you put it on your website, not just on YouTube, but embed it on the website, have it a video that runs there, have a post create a social post where you create a little blurb in your newsletter or in an email that sends people to the website to watch the video, to learn more information. I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can repackage whatever content you produce into different types of content, from emails to newsletters to blog articles to guides, all of that. And so you create it once and you repurpose it multiple times. And then you republish it on these different, it's a lot of work. Yes, it's a lot of effort to do that, but it's worthwhile because you never know where someone's going to finally come across your content. It may be on YouTube, but it may be via email in the inbox, or it may be a blog article that they read, or it could be on Facebook. If you aren't on all of those different platforms, you haven't got the content, the same content on all of those, then you're missing some potentially where your customers are because you're focusing on just one area. And so that's why it's having a multi-channel approach to this is really effective, much more effective than just doing single only Facebook posts or only LinkedIn posts. And then if the posts aren't getting any results, make one change. Change the color of the headline. Change the one image that you used on the social post. Don't change everything, because what you're doing basically is testing what worked, what didn't. Change the color of the button that they're supposed to click on. If green didn't work, try red. If red doesn't work, try orange. Try changing the word from submit to learn more, to send it to me, to, whatever it is that you're offering and you're asking people to click on. Make one change, repost it, send it out again, track the results, make another change. Over time, as you keep doing this, you'll find some event, one of those is working really well. So one of the things I've learned in all the research I've done, as an example, if you put a woman's picture on a post, a social post, or in an email, it's going to attract a lot more eyeballs than if you have a man on there. If you have a kid on there, it's going to attract even more eyeballs. People will stop and watch it and look at it. Why do you think cat videos and dog videos, funny dog videos, get so many views? Because people like to just laugh. They like to watch something quick and funny and laugh. Can that be useful for you? Is it relevant to your target audience? Can you tie it in to whatever product or service you're offering? I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe not. But think about the kinds of images you're using and what would be relevant to your target audience. And that's what you want to do. Tweak, republish, repeat, keep doing that until you finally find what's working. So just a brief recap of what we've talked about. It's been a lot. We talked about the different kinds of content. We've talked about targeting each type of audience for each product or service that you're offering, gathering all the tools and resources that you need to create the content, selecting the platforms where your customers are. You want to match them to, don't just stick to Facebook if all your customers are on LinkedIn or on Instagram. You need to be there. Setting specific measurable goals for each one of those, and then gathering the feedback and tracking your results. All of that is important and all part of your content strategy. And we are at the end, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. That was very good and very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to answer any other questions if anybody has them. Otherwise, I think we got through it in just the right amount of time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And everybody has received their workbooks and their slides. So a lot of people are saying thank you in the chat.
Great.
So
Great.
we really appreciate you. Thank you, Jerry.
All right. Thanks. Good to see those of you. And I think I see Raul asking, is it recorded? Yes, I think it was.
Yes.
It will be available, right?
Yes, that is true.
And
Yes.
okay,
And
good.
that's for Raul. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hannah's asking if the workbook was in the email.
Yes. Yes, it was, Anna. If for some
Okay.
reason you didn't have it, please let me know and I can send it to you again. I sent it out yesterday and today both.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So then just, yeah, Marianne, just let me know afterwards who wants that template and I'll send that to you. So that
Sounds great.
it. Okay.
This
All
is
right.
very good session. Thank you. Very
You're
great.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Bye. Thank you.